Alright, pretty much picking up this recording here from the last segment. Ladies and gentlemen, you are in Kagekaze's domain, patch 16, Demon Hunter playthrough. And I'm moving on to Cathedral level 4, killing myself a champion. There we go. Alright, anything worth it? No, not really, just some gold. That's perfectly fine. Apparently I can use a shiv. Means I can cut people. So I've pretty much gone over the major topics that I wanted to kind of go over in the last couple ones. I might rehash some things on future playthroughs,
when we return,
but I'll try not to rehash too much, because I can always refer back to this one. I think this one on the Demon Hunter will work really well for people, even if they don't want to play a Demon Hunter, to kind of go over the basic systems and what to expect when the game comes out. But I'll probably go over things such as resource management for each character as they come up. Vault is a wonderful skill. I really like Vault. The ability to get away quickly. And the fact that it lets me go through monsters means that I'm never going to get cornered as long as I play smart. Which means I've been cornered before. Just saying. I like Chain Gang, especially because it does massive amounts of slowing, and it does quite a bit of damage to larger groups. But I do kind of miss the larger damage of having Hungering Arrow. Unfortunately, we don't get it in the beta, but if I had Elemental Arrow, that's one of my favorite skills. I'll kind of show it right here. It does 155% weapon damage as fire to all targets it passes through. It goes in a straight line, hits everything. If I had that, I would probably go back to maybe Hungering Arrow, or who knows, maybe pick something else. There's a lot of really nice abilities here just in what we can see. I'm looking forward to trying out the Companion. Marked for Death, because the Companion here is just extra damage having him around you. Marked for Death lets you do extra damage when you target a monster. Demon Hunters are very manipulative, honestly. They really manipulate the flow of combat and the way you fight. You know, Caltrips for slowing enemies down. Even Chain Gang for slowing enemies down. Vaulting to get away, to put myself in the position. Shadow Power lets me sneak past, or to drop aggro. For, you know, now that I've got a Templar, I could just activate Shadow Power and let everything go to the Templar if I really wanted to. I pretty much control how I want the battle to play out. And because I keep my distance, I'm not often in any major danger. And so you can just kind of do that to get past all of them and get to the monsters that are causing the major agony here. And now they're gone. Demon Hunters and Monks both do this very well. Monks can go through enemies as well using Tempest Rush or Dashing Strike. I'm looking forward to using... What high-level skills am I looking forward to using? I'm looking forward to using Sentry, oddly enough. Let's see, that's Devices, I believe. Oh man, that's level 25. You put it down, it does extra damage. Okay, it's not that great on its own, but there are some runes, like it shoots rockets. There's a rune that it will shield you from additional damage. You know, I look at all of these abilities, and the abilities themselves may be kind of neat to begin with, but then you combine them with the runes that change up their effects. Like using Sentry is more damage with rockets, or using Sentry with a shield, for example. Just for those two examples, I could use it however I want. Very unique gameplay, and everything really does feel like it has a place. And you might be able to say, well, a lot of these skills are going to get weeded out. Like in Diablo 2, some skills that seemed like they were useful eventually got weeded out and said to be useless. Well, okay, yeah, that's true. In Diablo 2, that did happen, and there were some skills that really were. I used the example of Fireball and Firebolt for the Sorceress. I mean, they were pretty much direct upgrades from each other. Why have it as two skills? But I honestly think that even if half of the skills a character has in this game are weeded out, let's say only 10 skills are viable, there's still a lot of diversity there, and I think there's more so than Diablo 2 had. Simply because 10 skills, well, you can only use 6 of them at one time. And then there's also runes for those, which will add even more customization, even further there. So even if we were to lose half the skills, I think there's still so much more customization here. I really don't think we'll see that we'll lose that many. Alright, so at this point you're looking at the blank screen. I lost connection to BattleNet, and so I'll just go ahead and splice this in and move on to the next segment.
But I've lost track.
Okay, we're back now, and we're moving forward. I just decided to go ahead and move on to the next segment before uploading the previous. I want to try and get this going through as quick as possible here, because I will be falling behind if I don't. We've got a couple weeks here, well, a few weeks before release, and the Barbarian's already been announced, and I want to be able to at least get him maybe halfway recorded before the hero after him is revealed, which I again do believe to be the Monk. Alright, let's do some exploration. Little traps. Oh yeah, that was brilliant. That green text of the scroll makes me miss set items from D2. I loved set items. I know they're making a comeback, but unfortunately the official site only has set items listed for level 60 characters. Supposedly there may be others coming for lower levels. One of the things they had mentioned regarding set items, and I don't know how true this is anymore, but there was mention that you might find a pattern for a set that you could teach the blacksmith, and that pattern would teach him the entire set, which means once you found it, you found all the pieces, which means you didn't have to go hunting for each additional piece, which was one of the downsides to D2. Well, it was good and bad. It kept you searching for items, but at the same time you might run into luck where you'd never actually find the last pieces to complete your set. So by putting it onto the blacksmith for crafting, you're really just held back by your gold and materials costs, which can be enough to make you have to grind through anyway. It really depends on how expensive the sets will be to make and what the requirements on the material side will be. So it could very well be a very good system. It could also be bad. I mean, because if the sets are too easy to make, then there's no reason to wear a set. You'll be looking for things beyond that real quickly. So let's see, life regeneration, I don't really care for that. I'm going to stick to the magic find right now. It's less protection, 1.7% less, so honestly the life per second, the trade-off is kind of moot there. So we'll move on. I'm not taking a lot of damage. That's kind of why I'm focusing on exploration gear, such as magic and gold find right now. Down the road, you may have to evaluate what kind of gear you want to wear. Do you want exploration gear like gold and magic find? You know what? Leveling up through normal, most of you that are probably here are old veterans. Of course, some of you are new, but even if you're new, you know, if you get the handle of the game fairly quickly, in normal mode, you're probably going to stick to non-survival abilities. It really depends on how tough it gets down the road. Typically, normal mode is I don't want to say it's a pushover difficulty, because even in D2 it was easy, but near the end if you weren't careful, you could still get wrecked without proper gear. But typically, you didn't have to worry about it that much. So you might focus more on trying to... What you'll probably focus on at that point is trying to find the gear that's going to get you through to the next difficulty. So even though you might not need good gear for normal, you're going to be looking for gear for Nightmare and Hell. So gold and magic find is great for that, because if you don't find if you don't find an item that you're looking for, gold find is great, because then you can use your blacksmith to craft a piece of loot for a slot that you may not have found. Like, for example, I don't have a very good chest piece. I crafted one and I got bad luck on it, but I could always craft another one and see if I can't replace the one that I've got, which is just a white. That's what I see crafting is for, and that was something I forgot to mention earlier. Someone asking, how is crafting going to be viable? It seems like it's too expensive. You can't think of crafting as giving you all new sets of gear. If you do, you're going to run out of gold, you're going to run out of resources. Just level it up. You can level up your smith without crafting anything. You don't have to use materials to level them up. And then when you get to a point where you're just not finding a loot for a particular item slot, make one. Okay, what did I get? I got extra attack speed and extra gold from monsters, so I would lose my hatred regeneration. 0.42 per second is not a ton. I could use the extra gold. See, if this were a retail release, I'd probably just go for the gold. Simply because, in the long run, all the extra gold I get now is going to help me down the line. This being beta, level 13, not a big deal. I think I'm going to go ahead and use it anyway, because I'm sitting at about 5.2k. I would like to get more, so I want to be able to craft a bit more. So I'll go ahead and go with the gold find. I'm glad I swapped out weapons, though, because looking at this, I've got 11.2 damage, and things still take a little bit longer to kill. They're able to get up to me. I have to pretty much use my snaring, which, you know, I like. I like the gameplay of using snares and maneuverability, so if that's not your cup of tea, might I suggest a barbarian? Perhaps certain builds of Witch Doctor. Once you get Soul Harvest, you really start killing things really quickly. Wizards are also pretty good for taking things out. Their snares are built into their single target damage. For example, Ray of Frost is the primary damage dealer for a wizard, and it slows the enemy down as you're doing damage, which that's the wizard's main advantage. The wizard has a lot of abilities that snare while doing a good amount of damage. Like, my snares aren't really damage dealers like caltrops. Entangling Shot does do damage as a snare, but it's greatly reduced damage compared to my other skills. 75% weapon damage compared to 115 is pretty weak. Whereas the Ray of Frost is a 215 and does a slow. So, you know, there you have it. Different strokes for different folks. I'm going to go ahead and use that. 15 armor. It's 1% protection. Let me see if that 1% is actually accurate. It says I get 23.6 if I wear this. 24.6. Okay, so the percentage in protection that you see is armor value. Percent damage reduction. That 1% is 1% damage reduction. That's not telling me I lose 1% armor. It's telling me I lose 1% damage reduction. So when you're comparing items, even if you're not sure what armor does for you, because, you know, we'll be honest, armor rating and trying to figure out what's better and what's not, you know, when you're looking at two different values, maybe something's got more damage but less armor, and you're trying to decide is it worth it. Armor ratings are kind of confusing to compare. But you can look at that tooltip and say, okay, this makes it so I take 1% extra damage. Okay, then you can maybe decide, oh, is that it? You know, 1%? Okay, that's not too bad. I could probably lose that and move on to something else. I really like the way holy damage kind of blows them up in sparkles of light. It's looking like I might get lucky enough to hit level 10 before getting to Leoric, which is really nice, because then I can talk to you guys about passives before I move on to the very fast-paced leveling videos. There you go. Benefits of a range class. Aw, yeah. So I'm killing things quick enough that I just really haven't been resorting to rapid fire that often. As far as these enemies go, the weaker ones. Larger monsters have definitely needed rapid fire. I'm almost wondering if I shouldn't go back to Impale, though, because that provides a stun and lets me kind of play keep away if they get close, where rapid fire does not. See, there you go. There's tough choices, really, in these. I mean, what I could actually do is maybe keep Volt, or heck, I could maybe get rid of Volt, right, and put Impact there. You know, so instead of trying to get away quickly with Volt, I could slow them down with, oops, sorry about that, slow them down with Caltrops, and if that doesn't work, hit them with Impact. And I shouldn't really need Volt if they're slowed and stunned enough. There's a lot of things you can consider there for builds. A right combination of slows and stuns, damage, AoE plus single target. Too many things to really think about. I mean, not only that, but you've got buffs like what was that? Marked for Death. You know, if your class has got a buff like that, it doesn't do damage on its own, but it lets you do more damage. So you want to consider, okay, do I want to have that extra damage, or do I want to have more survivability? Do I want to have an ability that does the damage, or do I want this to do extra passive damage? Marked for Death combined with a skill that's very efficient like Rapid Fire is an amazing combination, because you're doing 12% additional damage and you're using your Hatred very efficiently. That is very useful for longer fights. A lot of these, I mean, here we have Phantom Knives, has a 10-second cooldown, but it's a massive amount of damage it does to a group, and it does slowing. You know, Spike Trap, slow, does it slow? Let me see. Arms after 1.2 seconds, triggers when an enemy approaches, it does weapon damage. Okay, no, that's just pure weapon damage, but you can set that up in advance. You know, that's what I like about the Demon Hunter. Traps. You can set up things in advance. I can put a trap down to do damage. I can put a trap down to do a slow. It's one of the most unique characters for, as far as combat flow goes. You really just pick up those. Maybe I didn't. I thought I picked up something that I didn't want. That. These monsters with the shields are quite annoying. You have to break through that before you can do anything else. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a class with a stun, they can't block if they are stunned. So, barbarians, use your ground stomp or anything like that to knock them off balance, and you're golden. I don't really have... I could do impact for that, but when there's multiple groups of them, I'm just better off trying to break their shields. So it looks like I've got this path up here and this path in the center. My guess is that the correct path is in the center. I'm loving this reduced discipline cost of vault. I like using it in combat, but I also like using it out of combat for just kind of quick movement. It's even better when you've got a passive that increases your movement speed. You can see my typical strategy there when I run across something that I know is going to take a little bit to kill. I kind of back off and put down more than one trap. I'll put down two. My expectation is not for him to hit both of those traps, although sometimes they do. But my expectation is I want him to hit one and die first, but if he doesn't, I have a backup. I don't want him to get past my trap and then actually get to me. Here I'm using Jondar, my... Jondar. Hey! Yeah. Did I kill you? No. Here I'm using Cormac, my Templar, to block the path. Enemies act to you like you act to them. You can't pass through enemies. So him in the way means they can't pass through him. So if I've got him in front of me and he's out there taking the aggro, taking the hits, I can just stand right behind him and shoot and not really worry too much. This is something you can kind of use in group play too. If you've got a melee character with you, you can let them kind of move in and soak the hits, especially if it's a barbarian, because you know that they'll be having possibly strength-focused gear, and that allows them to soak up more. Don't, you don't want to trap them in there. Haven't tried to see if you can actually move past another player character. I'm not sure if you can trap each other. I don't think you can, because that was something that they changed in Diablo 2 because there was too much potential for problems there. So I imagine you probably won't hear. But if you can block your friends, do be mindful. Try not to stand behind your friend in a choke point if they need to move quickly. Nothing destroys friends faster. Chain gain is really great for these, just getting a bunch of damage out there. Not only that, but I just kind of like the way it bounces. It's fun to watch. For me. Come on. Can't you kill a simple skeleton, Cormac? Come on. I know you get reduced damage from your weapons, but it's a skeleton. Come on. Alright, I am a little under 20% way to level. Fairly certain I'll hit it.
Contend with evil is the essence of what it means to be a as long as you don't get in my way. hatred is too low.
Alright, so this segment here is kind of one of those cool little lore features. So you can click on Leoric's sword, you'll actually see the last moments of Leoric's living life. You actually don't have to click on it to progress. A lot of people do. I think there might have been at one point you couldn't pass unless you did. That's not the case now. I was able to move past him and just move to the next area without any issues.
This place is a backwater filled with serfs and an ancient broken-down monastery.
The truth is, even the next part, the four pillars event, as I like to call it, because you've got Leoric, he comes up, he has these 4 skeleton generators, and he tries to take you out with them. You can actually bypass that and move on. You don't have to beat them. These here, I could just run past him, open the door, and move on. I don't have to do it. I mean, that's kind of strange. I kind of think they should have made that maybe a locked door event or something. But I'm going to go ahead and do it, just because it's not too hard. And I talked about strategy in this area once before. You have to worry about the archers that are up here in the corners. Those are really the biggest problem. Other than that, the skeletons move fairly slowly, not an issue. So you clear out these side areas, and then you can kind of use these as your staging ground, because they can't move too far. They get pinched in here, so like if you're a wizard with Arcane Orb, it's great. For me, I've got Chain Gain. I can just kind of hit out there, hit everything I need to from a distance.
Your fear betrays you.
And then eventually move out and try and just get them to come in. You just get them in this choke point here, and they end up stepping on each other's toes. They can't move very quickly, and you can just do a bunch of damage to them at once. You may notice I'm hitting things even though I can't see them. The game renders things honestly based on a line of sight rule. Here they're out of my line of sight, therefore they don't get rendered. It's kind of a neat system, but it can be a little jarring at times to see monsters disappear. But it's simply because you just can't see them. You know, it's... I don't know. I understand the system because a lot of games use the line of sight concept. A lot of old role-playing games focus on line of sight. But, I don't know. Sometimes it feels weird in a 3D environment like this.
How are criminals treated in your land?
They are given 3 days' food and water.
I thought I was going to level. I think I am wrong. Okay then, let's do this real quick. Let's find as many as we can. And we can do kind of a quick test as well of something here. Oh, what are they doing? Packing these crypts in tight with as many corpses as they could find? There's some experience. That's worth 700. Oh, look at that. Look how close that is. Alright, let's see if the return skeletons will do it for me. This starts the event for King Leoric. And if you're in a group, when you click on this area, it will ask everybody, are you ready? Are you sure you want to do this?
You will never defeat me!
You were defeated the moment you surrendered to madness.
Alright, let's put a trap there for them, and a couple there. There's the level. Level 10. This is the passive level. You get 2 passives. You unlock the passive slot. And these monsters, I mentioned it when I went to the Den of the Fallen. These monsters are a higher monster level. So you can see here they drop this thick brigandine coat. And as you can see, it also has much more armor. That's because their armor or monster level is higher than anywhere else right now. The highest in the beta, next to Den of the Fallen. So I can go ahead and wear that. That's some nice armor. It's still not magical, but it works. Not bad. Okay, so level 10, passive slots. These are things, of course, these can change up your gameplay. Sometimes passive abilities will change up your gameplay a little bit. Sometimes they'll change the way certain skills work and with the synergies, and sometimes they'll just give you raw damage. In this case, I have tactical advantage that whenever I use Vault, Smokescreen, or Backflip with Evasive Fire, I gain 60% movement speed for 2 seconds. Now, I don't know if that stacks with the 10% that they gave Smokescreen recently. I really hope that they will increase the tooltips to explain that, because as of right now, Smokescreen gives you a 10% but doesn't show up in the tooltip, so that could be a 70% for 2 seconds. This is very nice. It's great for mobility if you want to dodge out of the way and keep going, or just for travel. Here we have Thrill the Hunt, which is honestly a very nice ability. This is one of those kind of, maybe not a game changer, but it kind of changes your strategy up a bit, because every 10 seconds you'll get your next bow attack will immobilize your target for 3 seconds. And by bow attacks, if you looked back and saw the video where I was looking at using melee weapons, certain skills don't need your bow and arrow. They just will let you do them, such as grenades here, or chakram, impale, rapid fire needs a bow. Anything that has to do with discipline usually doesn't need it. Vault, preparation, companion, mark for death. Spike trap probably does not need a ranged weapon, nor does Fanatize. Evasive fire will. It's basically based on what kind of animation the skill has, and if it has an animation based on your bow. So what that means is that skills like grenades won't be affected by Thrill of the Hunt. Skills like impale will not be affected by it. But my entangling shot will. So now I have entangling shot, which not only slows them, but has a chance to immobilize an enemy for a couple of seconds by using this Thrill of the Hunt. Now, unfortunately, you don't get a buff bar here anymore that shows you when Thrill of the Hunt is active. It's pretty much just going to happen on its own every 10 seconds. This is kind of a shame, because I really liked when it showed the buff on the bar, because it let me know when it was up and what monster should be my primary target when it does. Because I would like to know, okay, Thrill the Hunt's up, maybe I should hit the big guy next to stop him from moving, and then focus on the little guys. Okay, now since I'm fighting Leoric, I can kind of look at what I have on me here. I'll be honest, Caltrops is not really a big deal at this point. Neither is Smokescreen. Unless I want to get his minions off of me. So I could go with either one. I'll probably leave that alone. Vault I still like, because Leoric has a teleportation move that will allow me to move out of his attack. If you haven't watched my video on the shadow tactics for Leoric, it's not a bad watch. There are a few things I forgot, such as him being able to kill his own skeletal minions. I might redo it in the future. I'll take a look at that. But for now, entangling is good for his minions. So I could go with Hungering Arrow, though, for hitting him more often, because his minions won't stay up that long. And I could go with Impale. So here's the trade-off I really have. This is probably the one decision that's going to be the biggest for this fight. Using Rapid Fire will allow me to efficiently take out Leoric himself. Using Impale will lower my efficiency as far as my damage goes, but I can stun Leoric on occasion, keeping him from doing any of his moves. Kind of a tough decision there, and I think right now either one will work. I'm going to go ahead and keep what I've got, but I wanted to kind of give you guys the idea of what things you can think about when you're about to go into a boss fight, if you already know the boss's mechanics, of course. Now once I started him here, I can, as you can see here, you can't actually town portal out of here. I believe in group play you used to be able to, but it would warn you that if you tried to leave, you would not be able to come back. Now it looks like they've just removed it altogether, which makes sense. I thought I hit Volt. Apparently I missed. Okay, so here I like to try and work on his minions. Yep. I heard him coming. There was that laugh. So when you're fighting a boss, obviously you want to look out for audio and video cues that'll let you know when he's about to do something. What I'm going to do is wait for him to teleport, and I'm going to try and avoid the teleport just by moving. So he's laughing. I'm going to move in the other direction. I was pretty much told that if you can move when he starts to laugh and then move in an opposite direction, you can avoid it. And it honestly feels like he just teleports right on top of you either way in this case. Okay. Now to move in the other direction. Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing the evasion there. It honestly feels like he just gets right on top of you and hits you, which is what I was expecting. If someone else can do it, that'd be great. I just can't seem to do it right. So I stick to one of two things I can do in this instance. In this case, like right now I'm fighting his skeletons, but I'm always about to teleport, so I want to vault out of the way before he hits me. Like so. Now another thing you can do is keep relatively close to him. If you're somewhat close to him, he won't teleport to you, but you can end up getting in range of his swings. Hey, my Templar's down. And grabbing health orbs is not going to help with that. He is down. He's not dead. As you can see, he's kind of on one knee. Whoop. He will, after a few seconds, come back up. There he is. Full health. Now see, if I want to keep him from teleporting, I'm going to get close. So there you go. A couple ways to deal with some of his very basic attacks. Leoric's a bruiser. He doesn't hit often, but he hits hard. So I really attribute my slow killing speed on him right now to just I've got more of a snaring and AoE based build, which is doing less damage to him. Every now and then I'm able to hit him with the more efficient rapid fire, but I'm having to focus on his minions a lot because he's summoning quite a bit of them right now. As you can see, when I actually hit him, I don't do bad damage. And of course, the first time you kill a boss, I used to say it was guaranteed, but now it seems that it's just very high likelihood that you get a rare item. As you can see here is a rare hand crossbow, which is great. It's an item for my class. That's awesome. Been looking for a good one-handed crossbow. Now I'm one step closer to being able to talk about dual wielding. Most of my playthroughs have told me that he always drops one because he never failed to drop one. And then one time, the last time I played Demon Hunter even, I believe it was, he didn't drop anything. Well, he dropped 2 blues. And so what it is what the first time you kill a boss for a quest, you will have a very high success rate in Magic Find. because the first time you kill a boss, they want it to feel epic. They want you to have this big boss fight that you haven't fought before, and then when you beat him, feel sufficiently rewarded. After that, if you kill him again, you know, it's kind of old hat at that point. It's like, okay, great, you're going to get a few items, but you're not going to get anywhere near what you had before. And that's when level 60 Nephilim Valor starts playing into things. But as you can see here, I got 3 blues and a yellow, which is my rare. Alright, let's take a look at it. Now, for rare items, you can see here, it says it can't be equipped until identified. This is a throwback to Diablo 2. You used to need scrolls of identification. Even for blue items, you needed scrolls of identification. You could not... you couldn't really... You had to carry this tome. They had a tome of identify, and you would carry like 20 scrolls with you at a time. And it was kind of cool, but after a while it got kind of tedious after you picked up so many blues. So I kind of like the fact that blue items are identified immediately, and what they did is they still want that unwrapping a present feel for rare items. You know, you've got this item, it's better than others. They want you to still feel like you're just, like I said, unwrapping a present, you know, finding out for the first time what is it. So instead of having you keep the identification scrolls, they just said, you know what, you can still have that, but what you need to do is just right click on it, you'll identify it, and boom, there it is. And this is kind of nice, actually. It's a 2 to 3 arcane damage, so it went up to 15.2. This is better than the two-handed weapon I'm using. Now, that's not always going to be the case. Typically, one-handed weapons are going to be weaker than a two-handed, but as you can see here, I rolled really good. I got a very high damaged hand crossbow, and it got the 2 to 3 arcane. It also gives me a vitality, which is nice. Hits add +2 to life, so I've got not only more life, but I get more life as I fight, and I have hatred regeneration. Brilliant. Apparently I found this too, which was a little better than what I had, and I'm not entirely sure when I picked that one up. I've been trying to move, and I apologize for that, because I know a lot of you talk about me missing items. It's more along the lines of I'm trying to not fiddle with my inventory every 10 steps. So I know some people are going to be kind of upset about that, but at the same time I want to kind of do it in little segments, you know, not keep stopping and looking, but move so far, then stop and look, then move so far. But this is good. This is good. Look at this. I even got a +4 experience bow. Is it better than the last one? It's about the same. Look at this. 9.48 to 9, 9.48 to 9. So I can get rid of the +3 experience one. Keep that. I will use this now. I'll hold on to that, because what I want to do is go over weapon types such as bows, crossbows, and one-handed. I'm hoping to find a second one-handed weapon so that I can go over the differences between two-handed weaponry and dual wielding. But that's it. That's how rare items work. You just have to right-click and identify it. Items you find for the first time off of bosses and things like that are a lower quality rare because of their high chance to drop. As you can see here, it has about 4 attributes on it: the arcane damage, the vitality, the add to life, and the hatred regeneration. Items that you find out on the field off of normal monsters, out of barrels and things like that, are typically better. They will typically drop with 6 different magical affixes on them, so 2 more than this. So that's something to keep in mind, because some people have talked about farming farming items by recreating characters. You could do that. I could technically keep recreating characters and farming Leoric for a rare item every time I kill him. That's great and all, but it's not time efficient, because you have to keep getting to him with a new character. And for 2, the items that you get off of them are not going to be as good as finding one on the field, and you're better off just probably playing through the game, leveling like normal, and then once you get to 60, then you can start doing your golden magic find grind, and using the Nephilim Valor to help you, and then moving on to the Inferno difficulty. So let's see. There haven't been any real changes to the Demon Hunter since the last patch, so for those of you looking for my leveling and impressions, you know, honestly, it feels the same as last time. I don't feel any major differences here. The Demon Hunter still feels really good at leveling. I'm sure it'll feel really good moving on. Things I'm looking forward to. I haven't looked too deeply into these. There's some really interesting ideas here. Like here's a build that might make you decide to keep your hatred full. You remember how I talked about using resources effectively and not waste. Well, I say wasting them. Technically, you can't waste a resource because even though the resource is gone, it's not like you could take it and use it for something else. But you are constantly, like right now, I'm constantly generating resources, and if I don't use it, then I'm minimizing my potential. But here's a passive here that shows that if I'm at full hatred, I could get 15% increased movement speed. So there are benefits and passives that are going to change up the game for you. In this case, I would probably not want to use my hatred until... So this type of passive would probably be something I use for a build that uses hatred spenders for emergency situations or for very specific encounters, such as using the impact rune with Impale. Regeneration if you haven't been hit for a while. Here's something for critical hit builds. Every time you crit, you have a chance to restore 1 discipline, so you could start finding gear that gives you a high critical chance rate and then start loading up on discipline items. There's here you go. Damage against slow enemies is increased by 15%. This right here, Cull the Weak, would be great for what I'm using right now, Entangling Shot and Chain Gang, because then Chain Gang will go out, hit 4 enemies, slow all 4 of those enemies. Then the next time I hit, I'm doing 15% extra damage to every single one of those monsters. So what is now an AoE could become far better than what it is now. Here's a passive that's based off of what kind of weaponry you're using. Damage reduction based on what skills you use. So honestly, skills that you pick and the passives you pick, you want to make sure you have kind of a synergy. Like for example here, you want to use this with either Fan of Knives, Spike Trap, or Caltrops. You don't have to pick all 3, although you could. But you could just pick 1 or 2 and still find good use out of it. Discipline reduction. This is what I'm looking for right here because I want to play with the Sentry Gun. I say Sentry Gun. Yeah, I'm a Team Fortress 2 player. I love my engineer building my sentry. Need a dispenser here. So duration of Caltrops, Mark for Death. See, there's the big one, Mark for Death. I like that. Spike Trap and Sentry. So I could put Mark for Death and Sentry on that and make an interesting build there. Grenader, which gives you hatred from grenades, and was upon death you drop a giant grenade. That's an interesting one. That's one that intends that you are going to do more damage when you die. Could be useful in group play, honestly, or even single player. I mean, if you die and you drop a grenade and you blow up, then you could go back to your body and the monsters or where you died originally, because your body doesn't exist anymore. You just respawn. So there's uses there. Obviously, hardcore characters aren't going to like it except for the hatred reduction. And look at this rocket build. I talked about some skills that you get rockets on, like my Sentry Gun, but that's not it. That's not all. There's other abilities that are going to give you rockets, like Strafe, and there's a passive here just for increasing that. And here's one that I find rather interesting, where you gain 3% critical chance every second until you actually do crit, which means in between combat with monsters, you're pretty much guaranteed to hit on the first strike. I'm looking at all of these, and I'm thinking, there's so many possibilities here. And this is just the passives. I haven't even gone over all the runes for all the skills. And you think about 5 runes per skill. There's so much more here. I think the arguments that there's not going to be enough customization for this game are really going to be put to pasture when people finally play it at high levels. I really do. I think people are looking at it in pure, absolutes and not really taking all the different factors into account. But we'll see. That's just my opinion. It's one man's opinion against, everyone else's opinion. But honestly, I don't see them putting out a bad game. I really don't. So maybe in the future, here's a thought since I'm going over this. When the game comes out, what I might do is maybe pick some build ideas. Like if you guys want to submit ideas for builds and for discussion, You know, not just to see what I think about it, but for me to put it out there to see what other people think about it. You know, put a video of it, see how it plays. You know, that might be an idea I consider. I have been looking at experimental segments, so if you like that, I mean, hey, let's see how it goes. So for now, this is all the way up to level 10. We've killed Leoric. The next video will be splicing together the different levels like usual, just to kind of play around with things. And of course, if I get any additional questions between now and then, I will do my best to answer them. Alright, thank you guys for watching. As usual, the comments and suggestions can go in the fields below or the shadowpost@gmail.com. And please, if you like the video, thumb it up, which helps me out a lot. I'll see you guys on the next segment.